The water slaps against the underside of the dock with a rhythm I've memorized down to the second. 3 small waves, 1 larger swell, pause, repeat. I've been counting them for so long now that I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. My name is Dalton Kreiger, and I've been living on this floating dock in the middle of Lake Merrimack for 47 days, or maybe it's 48. I lost track somewhere around day 30 when the rain came for 5 days straight, and I thought I might actually lose my mind from the sound of it hammering on the metal roof I'd jerry-rigged from a storage shed's panels. The dock wasn't supposed to be my salvation. None of this was supposed to happen at all. I was a marine equipment technician before the world ended, spent my days maintaining boat engines, fixing GPS systems, replacing corroded parts on vessels that wealthy people used maybe twice a year. The irony isn't lost on me that all that knowledge about watercraft and marine systems is what's keeping me alive now, floating here like some kind of post-apocalyptic castaway, while the infected swarm the shorelines on all sides. It started on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always slow at Harlan's Marina where I worked. Harlan Voss, the owner, was a gruff bastard in his 60s who treated his boats better than he treated people. But he paid fair and left me alone to work, which was all I needed. That Tuesday morning started normal enough. I came in around 7, coffee in hand, ready to rebuild a carburetor on a 30-foot cabin cruiser that some dentist from Portland had brought in. The radio was on in the workshop, some talk show I wasn't really listening to. The hosts were doing their usual morning banter when one of them mentioned something about a situation in Boston. People attacking each other in the streets. Mass hysteria, they called it. Some new drug, the speculation went. Bad batch of synthetic something or other making people violent and crazy. I didn't think much of it. Boston was 4 hours away. Might as well have been on another planet as far as my daily concerns went. By noon, the radio stations were all talking about it. The situation had spread to Worcester, to Providence. Videos were circulating online. I didn't watch them, but my coworker, a kid named Desmond, who was maybe 22 and always on his phone, kept showing me clips with shaking hands, people running, people falling, people getting back up and running in ways that didn't look quite right. "That's some messed up stuff," Desmond said, his face pale. "They're saying it's everywhere now. New York, Hartford, Manchester." Manchester was 40 minutes away. Harlan came into the workshop around 2 in the afternoon. He looked older than I'd ever seen him, his face drawn and gray. "Boys," he said quietly, "I'm closing up early. You should get home to your families." I didn't have family, not anymore. My ex-wife, Raya, had taken our daughter, Kennedy, and moved to Colorado 3 years back. I hadn't spoken to either of them in 8 months. My parents were dead. I had a brother somewhere in Florida I hadn't talked to in a decade. "I'm going to finish this carburetor," I told Harlan. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Suit yourself. I'm heading home. Lock up when you leave." He never made it home. I found that out later. But in that moment, he just walked out of the workshop, and I went back to my wrench and the greasy engine parts spread across my workbench. The power went out around 6 in the evening. I was still working by then, using the LED work lamp I'd clamped to the engine mount. When the overhead fluorescence died and the sudden silence of the halted ventilation fans filled the space, I knew something had shifted. This wasn't a local outage. The backup generator didn't kick in. I went to the window and looked out across the marina. The sun was setting, painting Lake Merrimack in shades of orange and purple. Beautiful, peaceful, completely at odds with what was happening on the radio, which had switched over to the emergency broadcast system sometime in the last hour. I'd been half listening to the automated warnings: shelter in place, avoid contact with infected individuals, do not attempt to help those who are behaving erratically. That's when I heard the screaming. It came from the parking lot, high and desperate. I moved to the door of the workshop and looked out. The marina complex consisted of the main building where Harlan kept his office and the small ship's store, the workshop where I spent most of my time, and a series of docks extending out into the water like fingers. Maybe 40 boats were moored there, everything from little fishing dinghies to impressive yachts. A woman was running across the parking lot. I recognized her vaguely, someone who kept a sailboat in one of the slips. Behind her came 3 figures moving in that wrong way I'd seen in the clips Desmond had shown me. Not running exactly. Sprinting, but with a jerky, mechanical quality. Like their bodies were operating on pure instinct without any of the smoothness of conscious thought. The woman fell. They were on her in seconds. I shut the door, locked it, backed away from the window. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. No service. I tried calling 911 anyway. Nothing. Tried calling my ex-wife, some stupid impulse to make sure Kennedy was safe, even though she was 2,000 miles away. The call wouldn't connect. I stood there in the workshop surrounded by boat parts and tools, listening to the sounds outside. More screaming, glass breaking, car alarms. The world was ending, and I was holding a socket wrench. Think, Dalton. Think. The workshop had supplies, but it wasn't defensible. Too many windows, doors that locked but wouldn't hold against sustained assault. The main building was worse, mostly glass storefront. My apartment was 15 miles away in a complex right off the highway. No way I was making that drive with what was happening. The boats. I looked out the window toward the docks. The infected, because that's what they were, I'd accepted that now, were spreading through the parking lot in the main building, but they weren't going near the water. Maybe they couldn't see it in the fading light. Maybe they were drawn to noise and movement, and the docks were quiet and still. I grabbed my work bag and started filling it. Tools, first aid kit, duct tape, zip ties, the LED work lamp, spare batteries. There was a mini fridge in the corner that Harlan kept stocked with water bottles and energy drinks. I emptied it into the bag, a box of protein bars from my locker, a rain jacket, everything I could carry. The screaming was getting closer. I went out the back door of the workshop, the one that led directly to the dock walkway. The sun had nearly set now, and the shadows were thick. I moved as quietly as I could, my work boots heavy on the wooden planks. The dock swayed gently under me, that familiar floating sensation I'd felt 1,000 times before, but never quite like this. I passed the moored boats, considering each one. The big cabin cruiser I'd been working on. No, too much boat for one person, and the engine was in pieces. The sailboats, I didn't know how to sail. The fishing boats, too exposed, too small. Then I saw it. Dock E. The farthest one out. At the very end was a floating work platform we used for major repairs. It was basically a large flat barge about 30 feet by 20 feet, with a small enclosed shed on one end that held tools and spare parts. The platform had cleats for tying up boats that needed work, a small crane for pulling engines, and railings around the perimeter. It was attached to the dock by a single gangway, maybe 8 feet long. It was far from shore. It was defensible. It floated, which meant I could potentially cut it loose if I needed to. I ran for it. Behind me, I heard the sounds of infected breaking into the workshop, growling, snarling, the crash of metal and glass. I didn't look back. I crossed the main dock to Dock E, then sprinted down its length. The gangway to the work platform was narrow, just wide enough for one person. I crossed it and immediately started looking for a way to detach it. The gangway was held in place by 4 bolts, 2 on each end. I dropped my bag and grabbed the socket wrench I'd shoved in my pocket. My fingers were clumsy with adrenaline, but I got the first bolt loosened, then the second. Behind me on the main dock, I heard footsteps, fast, running. Multiple sets, 3rd bolt, 4th bolt. The gangway came free on my end. It tilted, still attached to the main dock, creating a gap of about 3 feet between the dock and the platform. Not enough. I grabbed a boat hook from the shed and used it to push against the main dock, shoving the platform away. The gap widened, 5 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. 3 infected came sprinting down Dock E. They didn't slow as they reached the end. The first one just ran straight off into the water, disappearing beneath the surface. The second did the same. The third managed to leap but fell short, hitting the water with a splash that sent ripples across the darkening lake. I waited, breathing hard, watching the water. They didn't come back up. Or if they did, they didn't surface near the platform. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, watching, listening. The platform drifted slowly away from the dock, caught in the gentle current. The sounds from shore were ongoing, screaming, crashing, car horns, alarms. But out here on the water, there was mostly just the lap of waves and the creak of the platform beneath my feet. That was day 1. Now day 47 or 48, I sit on the edge of the platform with my legs dangling over the side, watching the sun come up over the eastern shore of Lake Merrimack. The lake is big, nearly 8 miles long and 2 miles across at its widest point. The work platform has drifted over the weeks, moved by wind and current. I tried to anchor it once using lengths of chain I found in the shed, but the lake bottom here is too deep. So I drift, never more than half a mile from shore at any given point, but never close enough for the infected to reach me. They're still there. I can see them every day, crowded along the shorelines, wandering through the remains of the small towns that dot the lake's perimeter. At night, sometimes I'll see the glow of fires. I don't know if other survivors are setting them or if something else is causing them. I haven't seen another living person in over a month. The hunger is constant now. That's the hardest part. I've been rationing, but there's only so much you can do with limited supplies. I finished the last protein bar 3 days ago. The food situation is why I've spent the last week preparing something I've been avoiding, something dangerous, something necessary. I need to fish. The shed on the platform had tools and spare parts, but no fishing gear. The marina would have had rods, tackle, bait, everything I needed. But the marina is overrun, crawling with infected. I've watched them through the binoculars I found in the shed. They don't seem to leave. Some of them just stand in place for hours, swaying slightly. Others pace endlessly back and forth. A few crouch in corners or under structures, motionless until something disturbs them. But I have wire. I have hooks I've fashioned from bent nails. I have line made from braided cord I pulled out of an old anchor rope. It's crude, but it might work. The problem is bait. I've been using bits of the protein bars at first, but fish don't care about chocolate and peanut butter. I tried some of the insulation foam from inside the shed, thinking the texture might fool something. Nothing. I've dangled pieces of fabric, bits of rubber, even my own hair braided together. Not a single bite. 2 days ago, I realized what I needed to do. I took one of my tools, a box cutter, and made a small incision on my forearm, just deep enough to bleed. I let the blood drip onto a piece of cloth, then attached it to my makeshift hook and dropped it in the water. Within 20 minutes, I felt a tug on the line. The fish I pulled up was a bass, maybe 2 pounds. Not huge, but it was food. Real, actual food. I killed it quickly with a blow to the head using a wrench, then sat there staring at it, this silver-scaled creature flopping in its death throes on the deck of the platform. I didn't have a way to cook it. No fire, no stove. The shed had a propane torch for welding, but I'd used up the propane weeks ago, trying to signal for help by creating bright flashes at night. So I did what I had to do. I used the box cutter to fillet the fish, cutting away the flesh in strips. I ate it raw, forcing myself to chew and swallow even as my stomach tried to reject it. It stayed down. Barely. I've caught 3 more fish since then, using the same method. Cut my arm, let it bleed, wait for the bite. My left forearm is a mess of small cuts now, some healing, some fresh. I clean them with lake water and try not to think about infection. The irony of surviving the infected only to die from an infected wound isn't lost on me. The fishing gives me something to do at least. Structure, purpose. Before I figured out the blood bait method, the days were endless stretches of nothing. I'd wake up when the sun came up because there's no sleeping through dawn on the water. The light reflects off everything, turns the whole world into a mirror. I'd check my wounds, check the perimeter of the platform, scan the shorelines with the binoculars. Then, nothing. Just sitting, waiting, trying not to think about how hungry I was. I've read everything readable in the shed 3 times over. Old marine equipment manuals, safety documentation, a waterlogged paperback mystery novel someone had left behind. I know the specifications for a Johnson 90 horsepower outboard motor by heart now. I can tell you the exact Coast Guard regulations for personal flotation devices. I've memorized entire pages of the mystery novel, which is about a detective trying to solve a murder in a small coastal town. The ending was ruined by water damage. The last 30 pages are just pulp. But I've invented 5 different solutions to the mystery in my head. I talk to myself. That started around day 20. Just little comments at first. Okay, Dalton, let's check the corners. Water's a bit choppy today. It's evolved into full conversations now. I explain things to an imaginary audience, walking them through my daily routine like I'm hosting some kind of survival show. See, what you want to do is check all your rope connections every morning, I'll say out loud, moving around the platform. The water movement causes constant stress on the knots. You don't want to wake up one morning and find half your equipment has floated away because you didn't maintain the lines. Sometimes, I pretend I'm talking to Kennedy, telling her about my day, asking about school, imagining her responses. She'd be 11 now, almost 12. Does she even remember me? Does she know what's happened? Is she safe in Colorado? Or did the infection spread everywhere? I can't think about that. Not if I want to stay sane. The platform has become my entire world. I know every square inch of it. The northwest corner has a loose board that creaks when you step on it. The railing on the south side has a spot where the welding came loose. I've reinforced it with wire, but I avoid putting weight on it. The shed is maybe 8 feet by 6 feet, with a single door that doesn't lock anymore because the mechanism rusted out years ago. Inside, there's a workbench bolted to the wall, shelves holding various marine supplies, and a floor space just big enough for me to lie down. That's where I sleep when it rains. When it's dry, I usually sleep outside on the deck under the stars. Not for any romantic reason, it's just warmer out there, and I can see any threats coming. Not that threats can reach me out here. The infected don't swim, or if they do, they don't swim well. I watched one fall in the water during the first week. It thrashed around for maybe 30 seconds, then went under and didn't come back up. But I still keep watch. Old habits from my time in the service. I did 4 years in the Navy right out of high school, before I met Raya, before I became a father, before I settled into civilian life and stopped thinking about threats and security and the 1,000 ways things could go wrong. Those instincts came roaring back when the world ended. The sun is fully up now, bright and warm. It's early September, I think, maybe late August. The nights are starting to get cooler, and that's a problem I haven't solved yet. The shed provides some shelter, but it's not insulated. Once real cold sets in, and winter on a lake in New Hampshire gets brutal, I'm going to be in serious trouble. One problem at a time, though. Right now, I need to fish. My stomach has been cramping since yesterday afternoon, that hollow ache that goes beyond normal hunger. I'm burning through calories just trying to stay warm at night. The raw fish helps, but it's not enough. I need to catch more, eat more. Maybe find a way to preserve some for the lean days. I pull out my makeshift fishing line and examine the hook. It's held up surprisingly well considering it's just a bent nail lashed to braided cord with wire. I've got 3 of these rigs now, each one representing hours of careful work. Lose one over the side, and I'm down a crucial tool. The box cutter comes out next. I've been trying to rotate the cuts, give each spot time to heal, but I'm running out of unmarked skin on my forearm. The scabs pull when I move my arm certain ways, and there's a persistent itch that tells me at least one of them might be infected, despite my efforts to keep them clean. I make a fresh cut on the underside of my forearm, about 2 inches above my wrist. The pain is immediate and sharp, but I'm used to it now. Blood wells up, dark red against pale skin. I've lost weight. I can see bones and tendons I never noticed before. My hands look skeletal. I soak a small piece of cloth in the blood, then tie it securely to the hook. The cloth is from my work shirt, which I've been slowly cannibalizing for various purposes. I'm down to a t-shirt now, which is fine for the current weather, but will be a problem when it gets cold. The line goes over the side. I let out about 15 feet, then tie it off to one of the railings and settle into wait. This is the meditative part. Watching the line, feeling for the subtle movements that indicate interest from below. The lake is surprisingly clear. I can see down maybe 10 or 12 feet when the sun is right. Sometimes I spot fish moving in schools beneath the platform. Perch, mostly. Some bass. Once, I saw what I think was a pike, big and mean-looking, but it didn't go for my bait. Movement on the eastern shore catches my eye. I reach for the binoculars, a habit now. Always check movement, always know what's happening on the shorelines. 3 infected are walking along what used to be Beach Road, the main strip that ran along the eastern side of the lake through the town of Clearwater Falls. They move slowly, purposefully, like they're going somewhere specific. I've noticed they do this sometimes, move in groups, following some pattern I can't discern. Are they hunting, migrating, operating on some base instinct that survives the infection? I don't know. I've had a lot of time to think about the infected, to watch them, to try to understand the rules of whatever they've become. They're attracted to sound and movement. They're fast when they're chasing something. They don't seem to need food or water. I've never seen one eating or drinking, which raises all kinds of questions about biology and energy expenditure that I'm not qualified to answer. They don't decay, or at least not quickly. I can still recognize some of them from those first days. There's one I call Red Jacket because he's wearing a distinctive red windbreaker. He patrols the main dock at the marina almost every day, walking the same route over and over. I've watched him through the binoculars, studied his face. He looks empty, like there's nothing behind his eyes except the most basic drive to hunt and kill. Is the person he was still in there somewhere, trapped and screaming? Or is that person gone completely, just meat and bone operating on viral autopilot? I lower the binoculars. The 3 infected have moved out of sight, disappearing into the tree line. A tug on the fishing line snaps my attention back, strong, insistent. I grab the line and start pulling it in, hand over hand, feeling the resistance. Whatever's on the hook, it's bigger than the bass I caught yesterday. The fish breaks the surface thrashing, a perch, maybe 3 pounds. It's a good catch, one of the biggest I've pulled up. I haul it onto the deck and grab my wrench, ending its struggle quickly. The guilt is still there every time I do this, taking a life. But guilt doesn't fill my stomach. I set up my filleting operation, which is just a flat section of the deck that I've cleaned with lake water. The box cutter works well enough as a knife, though I have to be careful. The blade is getting dull from use. I make the cuts along the spine, peeling away the flesh in strips. My hands move with more confidence than they did in those first attempts. I'm learning. The first piece of raw fish goes down easier than it used to. I chew thoroughly, force myself not to rush. There's no one to stop me from gulping it down, but rushing leads to stomach cramps and vomiting, which means wasted calories and wasted fish. I eat half the perch and wrap the rest in a piece of plastic sheeting, storing it in the shadiest corner of the shed. It won't last long, maybe a day in this heat, but it's something. My arm is still bleeding sluggishly from the fresh cut. I rinse it with lake water, then wrap it with a strip of cloth. The makeshift bandage is already stained with old blood, but it's all I have. I'm going to run out of cloth soon. Another problem to add to the list. The list of problems is long and getting longer. Food, partially solved with fishing, but not sustainable long term. I'm losing weight too quickly. I need more calories, more protein, vitamins. I'm not getting from raw fish alone. Water. The lake water looks clear, but I don't know what's in it. Parasites, bacteria, runoff from God knows what. I've been drinking it anyway because the alternative is dying of dehydration. So far, no serious illness, but that's probably just luck. Shelter. The shed is adequate for now, but winter is coming. I need insulation, better waterproofing, some kind of heat source. Medical. The cuts on my arm are a problem. No antibiotics, no proper first aid supplies beyond the basic kit I grabbed from the workshop, which is nearly empty now. One serious infection, and I'm dead. Isolation? The talking to myself is getting worse. Yesterday, I had a full argument with imaginary Kennedy about whether fish or chicken is better. I took both sides of the debate. Security. The platform is safe from infected, but what about other survivors? What if someone with a boat finds me? Are they friendly, desperate, armed? Long-term sustainability? Even if I solve all the immediate problems, what's the plan? Float here until I die of old age? Try to make it to shore and find other survivors? Hope for rescue that's probably never coming? I push the thoughts away. Thinking too far ahead leads to paralysis, to despair. Focus on today. Today, I have fish. Today, the weather is good. Today, I'm alive. The afternoon passes slowly. I spend it maintaining my equipment, checking knots, reinforcing the railing repair. Around 3 o'clock, I hear the distant sound of gunfire from the northern shore. It's not the first time. Someone's alive over there, holed up somewhere with ammunition. The shots come in controlled bursts, 2 or 3 at a time. Whoever it is, they're not panicking, not wasting ammo. Military training maybe, or law enforcement. I've thought about trying to signal them. I could use the torch to create smoke or wave something bright and colorful. But every time I consider it, I remember the lesson from that first night. Other people mean risk. They mean complication. They might mean safety and cooperation, but they might also mean violence and theft. Out here on the water, I'm alone, but I'm secure. Is it worth giving that up for the possibility of human contact? The gunfire stops after maybe 30 shots. I count them without meaning to, another habit. 30 shots means 30 infected, if the shooter is any good. Or it means 30 missed shots and the shooter is now dead. I won't know. I can't know. That's the hardest part of this isolation, not knowing anything beyond what I can directly observe. The sun starts its descent toward the western shore. The light turns golden, painting the water in shades of amber and honey. It's beautiful, objectively. Picture postcard beautiful. The kind of sunset I would have photographed before, sent to Raya with some caption about nature's beauty. Now it just means another night is coming. I prepare my sleeping area on the deck, which consists of a piece of canvas tarp I found in the shed and my work jacket bundled up as a pillow. The nights have been clear lately, which is a blessing. Rain means sleeping in the cramped shed, waking up stiff and sore. As the last light fades, I do my perimeter check. It's probably unnecessary. Nothing can reach me out here, but the routine is comforting. I check each corner of the platform, test the railings, look over the side at the water below. Everything is as it should be. The stars come out, millions of them. Without light pollution from the towns, the night sky is incredible. I've identified constellations I never knew existed, traced the movement of satellites across the darkness, watched meteor showers that must have always been happening, but I never saw through the glare of civilization. Somewhere in the distance, I hear a splash, probably a fish jumping, or maybe something else entering the water. I strain to listen, but there's nothing else. Just the endless lap of waves and the creak of the platform. I lie back on the canvas and stare up at the stars. Orion is starting to appear in the east, which means summer is truly ending. In a few months, those same stars will be directly overhead at sunset. In a few months, I'll be fighting frostbite and hypothermia. If I'm still alive in a few months. Sleep comes slowly, as it always does. My mind races through scenarios and problems and memories. I think about my daughter, about whether she's looking at these same stars from wherever she is. I think about Raya, about the last conversation we had, some stupid argument about child support and visitation rights that seems impossibly trivial now. I think about Harlan and Desmond and everyone else from the marina. Are any of them still alive? The water rocks me gently, and eventually, exhaustion wins over anxiety. I drift off to the sound of the lake and the distant howling of infected echoing across the water from the western shore. Day 48 begins the same way all the others have. I wake at dawn to the light reflecting off the water. My body aches from sleeping on the hard deck. My arm throbs where the cuts are trying to heal. My stomach is already cramping with hunger, even though I ate fish yesterday. I sit up and immediately scan the shorelines. It's automatic now, the first thing I do every morning. The eastern shore, empty except for a few infected wandering near what used to be a public beach. The southern shore, trees, and the remains of summer cottages, no movement. Western shore, smoke rising from somewhere near the old campground. Northern shore, I freeze. There's a boat, not on the water. On the shore, pulled up onto the beach near the ruins of a small boathouse. It wasn't there yesterday, I'm sure of it. I know every boat, every piece of debris, every landmark along these shores. I grab the binoculars with shaking hands and focus on the spot. It's a fishing boat, maybe 16 feet, aluminum hull, old but functional looking. And there's someone moving near it, a person, a living person. I watch through the binoculars, barely breathing. The figure is too far away to make out details, but the movement is all wrong for infected, too careful, too purposeful. They're doing something with the boat, working on it. Trying to get it into the water? Hope flares in my chest, sharp and painful. Another survivor, someone with a boat, someone who might be able to help, or who I might be able to help. Someone to talk to who isn't imaginary. But then the cautious part of my brain, the part that's kept me alive for 48 days, kicks in. What if they're dangerous? What if they see my platform and decide they want it? What if they have weapons? What if they're my only chance to get off this floating prison? I watch for over an hour as the figure works on the boat. They disappear into the tree line several times, coming back with objects I can't identify. At one point, 3 infected wander down the beach toward them. The figure sees them coming, picks up something, an oar maybe, and waits. When the infected get close, the figure swings, connects, drops the first one. The other 2 come in fast, but the figure is ready, moving with practiced efficiency. Within 30 seconds, all 3 infected are down. Whoever this is, they know how to fight. They've survived this long for a reason. The figure finally gets the boat into the water around mid-morning. They push it out, climb in, and start rowing. They have oars, no motor. The boat moves slowly across the water, heading northeast, toward the middle of the lake, toward my position. My heart hammers. This is it. Contact. After 48 days of isolation, I'm about to interact with another human being. I should be thrilled, relieved. Instead, I feel pure terror. I scramble to make myself presentable, which is absurd, but I do it anyway. I smooth down my hair, tuck in my shirt, try to wipe some of the fish blood off my hands. What do I say? How do I act? Do I pretend everything's fine, that I'm totally in control out here? Or do I admit I'm barely surviving? The boat is getting closer. I can make out more details now. The person rowing is, I think it's a woman. Short hair, lean build, wearing what looks like hiking gear. She's rowing steadily, efficiently, making good progress across the calm water. She's definitely heading for my platform. She must have seen it, marked it as a potential resource or shelter. I stand at the railing, making myself visible. No point hiding now. I raise one hand in what I hope is a non-threatening wave. The rowing stops. The figure, yes, definitely a woman, sits motionless in the boat about 100 yards out. I can feel her eyes on me, even though I can't see her face clearly yet. Long moments pass. Neither of us moves. Then she picks up the oars again and continues rowing toward me, slow and cautious. When she's about 30 feet away, I can finally see her face. She's maybe 40. with sun-weathered skin and dark eyes that scan every inch of the platform with calculated precision. There's a machete strapped to her back and what looks like a crowbar lying in the boat next to her. "You infected?" she calls out. Her voice is hoarse, like she hasn't used it in a while. I know the feeling. "No," I call back. "You? Would I be rowing a boat if I was?" Fair point. "I'm Dalton," I say. "Been on this platform since the first day. Floated out here to get away from them." She studies me, those sharp eyes taking in my condition. I must look rough, too thin, covered in cuts and bruises, wearing clothes that are falling apart. "I'm Octavia," she finally says. "Been surviving in a hunting cabin about 3 miles north. Ran out of food 2 days ago. Saw your platform yesterday while scouting the shoreline. You want to come aboard?" I ask. She shakes her head. "Not yet. You got any food?" I hesitate. The honest answer is barely. But what if she decides to take what I have? Then again, lying seems like a poor foundation for whatever this is. "I've been fishing," I tell her. "Caught a perch yesterday. Ate half. Still have the other half." "How are you fishing? You got gear?" Makeshift hooks from nails, line from rope, using blood as bait. Her expression shifts slightly. Might be respect, might be pity. That's resourceful. It keeps me alive. Barely from the look of you. Can't argue with that. She rows a bit closer, still maintaining distance. "Here's the situation," she says. "I've got skills but no food and no safe place." "You've got a safe place but limited food, and you're one infection away from dying. We could help each other." "Or we could kill each other over resources," I say. She nods, appreciating the honesty. "True. So, we need trust. How do we build that?" "Slowly," I suggest. "You keep your boat. I keep my platform. We trade information, maybe resources. See how it goes." "Information first," she agrees. "What do you know about the infection? How it spreads? What the pattern is?" I spend the next 20 minutes telling her everything I've observed. How the infected are attracted to sound and movement. How they don't seem to swim. How they gather in groups sometimes, but other times wander alone. How I've seen the same ones repeatedly, which suggests they don't decay quickly or travel far from their territories. She listens intently, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finish, she shares what she knows. "It's airborne initially," she says. "Or it was. First week, people were getting sick just from being near infected zones. Now, I think it's mostly fluid transmission, bites, scratches, blood contact. I saw someone turn. Took about 6 hours from exposure to full infection." 6 hours? That's important information. If I ever get bitten, I have 6 hours to... What? Make peace with it? Yeah. But here's the thing. I've been exposed to blood spray, got it in my eyes once fighting a group of them. Never got sick. So maybe some people are immune. Or maybe you got lucky. Maybe. We talk for another hour, sharing observations and theories. She tells me about the hunting cabin, how she's been surviving on stored food and rainwater, but the food finally ran out. She's tried hunting, but ammunition is precious, and she's not skilled with the bow she found. She's seen other survivors, but avoided them, not knowing if they could be trusted. "Why trust me?" I ask. "Because you're alone on a floating platform surviving on raw fish," she says bluntly. "You're desperate enough to need help, but not so desperate you'd try to take my boat. And you've kept yourself alive this long with basically nothing, which means you're smart and careful. You could be wrong. I could be. But my gut says you're more useful as an ally than a threat." The sun is directly overhead now. We've been talking for hours. My stomach growls audibly, and I see a slight smile cross Octavia's face. "You hungry?" she asks. "Always." She reaches into her boat and pulls out a can, tosses it to me. I catch it. Black beans. Real, actual preserved food. The can is dented and the label is water damaged, but it's food I don't have to catch and bleed for. "Where did you Found a stash in a convenience store 3 weeks ago, she says. Been rationing it. I got maybe a dozen cans left. Figured I'd share one as a show of good faith. I look at the can in my hands. It's probably worth a week of calories. She just gave it to me, a stranger, because her gut said I could be trusted. I make a decision. The shed on this platform has some tools and equipment, I tell her. If you know how to use a welder, you could probably fix up your boat, make it more secure. I've got materials we could trade or work with. Her eyes light up. You have a welder? Propane's out, but the equipment is there. If we could find fuel. There's a marina supply store about 2 miles south of here, she says. Probably has propane, along with other supplies. But it's in the middle of Clearwater Falls, which is crawling with infected. How many? When I scouted it last week, at least 50 in the immediate area. More in the buildings. 50 infected. That's a suicide mission for one person. Maybe not impossible for 2 people working together with a plan. We'd need a strategy, I say. Distraction, quick in and out, backup escape routes. We'd need to trust each other, she counters. The water laps against the platform and the boat. Somewhere in the distance, an infected howls. The sound carries across the lake, lonely and terrible. My daughter's name is Kennedy, I say suddenly. She's 11, almost 12, lives in Colorado with my ex-wife. I haven't talked to them in months, and I don't know if they're alive. That's what I think about every night before I fall asleep. Whether my daughter is safe, whether she's scared, whether she knows I'd do anything to get to her if I could. Octavia looks at me for a long moment. Then she says, my brother's name was Marcus. He was 26. He was with me at the cabin when the infection started. On day 5, he went to check the traps we'd set and didn't come back. I found him 2 days later. He'd turned. I had to put him down. And I've been alone ever since. We sit with that for a moment. 2 people who've lost everything sharing their pain across 30 feet of water. Okay, she finally says. Let's build some trust. I'm going to tie my boat to your platform. I'm going to climb aboard, and we're going to figure out how to survive this together. She rows the final distance, and I help secure her boat to one of the cleats. She climbs onto the platform with her machete and crowbar, moving with the cautious grace of someone who's been in countless fights. Up close, I can see she's in better shape than me, but not by much. Her clothes are torn and stained, her hands are covered in scars and calluses, and there's a haunted look in her eyes that probably mirrors my own. Welcome aboard, I say. She looks around the platform, taking in the shed, the makeshift fishing setup, the blood-stained cloth I use for bandages. You've done well with what you have, she says, but we can do better. We, she confirms. But first, let's eat. You got a way to open that can? I retrieve my box cutter, and we sit on the deck sharing the black beans straight from the can, passing it back and forth. The beans are cold and slightly congealed, but they're the best thing I have tasted in weeks. We eat slowly, savoring each bite. So, Octavia says between mouthfuls, tell me about this marina supply store and what we're going to need to pull off this raid. And just like that, I'm not alone anymore. The planning takes the rest of the afternoon. Octavia has a detailed mental map of Clearwater Falls and the surrounding area, marked with infected positions, potential resources, and danger zones. I contribute what I know about marine supplies and what we'd need to make the platform more survivable. Propane is the priority, I say, for the welder, but also potentially for heat when winter comes. After that, fishing gear, real hooks, line, maybe a net if they have one. Food, obviously. Medical supplies. Waterproof materials for better shelter. That's a lot to carry, Octavia points out. We'd need multiple trips or a way to transport larger loads. Could we use your boat? Maybe, but rowing a loaded boat with infected on the shore is risky. They'll see us, hear the splashing. We'd be vulnerable. What if we could find a small motor? Something quiet, battery-powered maybe? She considers this. The marina store might have electric trolling motors. Those are designed to be quiet, but we'd need a battery, and those are heavy. We talk through scenarios, mapping out the approach to Clearwater Falls. The town is small, maybe 3,000 people before the infection. Now it's a ghost town inhabited by who knows how many infected. The marina store is on the southern edge, right on the waterfront. That's good. We can approach by boat, minimize time on land. But it also means trapped between the water and the infected if things go wrong. We need a distraction, Octavia says. Something to draw them away from the store while we get in and out. Fire? Maybe. But fire attracts everything within miles. We'd be fighting off infected from all directions. Sound then? Something loud but localized. Car alarm? She nods slowly. There are cars all along the main street. If we could set one off on the north end of town, that's a quarter mile from the store. Most of the infected would head that way. We'd have maybe 15, 20 minutes before they spread back out. How do we set off a car alarm from a distance? Find one that's unlocked, pull the hood release, disconnect the battery and reconnect it with a delay. Or just break a window and run. That's a lot of ifs. You got a better plan? I don't. We keep refining the idea, adding details, thinking through contingencies. The sun is setting by the time we have something that feels like an actual plan rather than a suicide mission. The plan goes like this. Phase 1. Scout. We row to the southern shore just before dawn, when infected are less active. Octavia stays with the boat while I do a quick recon of the marina store, checking for access points and immediate threats. Phase 2. Distraction. Assuming the store is accessible, we move to Phase 2. Octavia goes north to set up the car alarm distraction while I position myself near the store. She's better at moving silently and fighting if necessary. Phase 3. Raid. Once the alarm goes off and infected move north, I enter the store and grab everything I can carry in a predetermined priority list. Propane, medical supplies, food, fishing gear, tools. You have 10 minutes maximum. Phase 4. Extraction. Back to the boat, row like hell for the platform. If pursued, we have weapons and the advantage of the water. It's not perfect. There are a dozen ways it could go wrong. But it's better than slowly starving on this platform or trying to raid the store without any plan at all. We do this tomorrow, Octavia says. Weather's supposed to be clear. No point delaying. Agreed. We settle in for the evening. Octavia secures her boat properly. Then we share the last of her canned food. Peaches this time, sickeningly sweet, but wonderful. As darkness falls, I show her the sleeping arrangements. You take the shed, I offer. It's cramped, but it's shelter. What about you? I'm used to sleeping on deck. She looks at me like I'm crazy, but she doesn't argue. We're both too tired for extended courtesy debates. Before she goes into the shed, she asks, "You really think we can pull this off tomorrow?" Honestly? No idea. But we have to try. Yeah, she agrees. We do. I lie on my canvas tarp and stare up at the stars, but sleep doesn't come. Tomorrow, I'll set foot on land for the first time in 48 days. Tomorrow, I'll be in the middle of an infested town with a woman I met 12 hours ago, trusting her with my life. Tomorrow, everything could change, or tomorrow, I could die. The possibilities spin through my mind until exhaustion finally drags me under around midnight. When I wake, it's still dark, maybe 4 in the morning. Octavia is already awake, checking her weapons. The machete has been sharpened on a stone she carried in her pack. The crowbar gleams dully in the starlight. Ready? She asks quietly. I'm not, but I nod anyway. We untie her boat and push off from the platform. The rowing is different with 2 people. I take one oar, she takes the other, and we pull in rhythm across the dark water. The southern shore is about half a mile away. In the boat, with infected potentially lining the beaches, it feels like crossing an ocean. The sky is just starting to lighten in the east when we approach the shore. Octavia guides us to a small inlet sheltered by overhanging trees. We pull the boat up onto a narrow strip of rocky beach and secure it to a tree root. "Remember," she whispers, "quick look. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. Back here in 10 minutes. I nod and start moving inland. The marina store is visible through the trees, maybe 200 yards away. I move as quietly as I can, placing each foot carefully, avoiding dry branches and loose rocks. Every sound seems impossibly loud in the pre-dawn stillness. The store comes into view. It's a single-story building with large windows across the front and a loading dock in back. Several of the windows are broken, and the front door hangs open. Not ideal, but not unexpected. I circle around to get a view of all sides. 3 infected are visible. One stands motionless near the corner of the building, swaying slightly. 2 more are about 50 yards away, wandering aimlessly through the parking lot. They're far enough that I might be able to get in and out without attracting attention if I'm careful. I mark the locations in my memory, identify the best entry point. The loading dock in back has a ramp and a door that looks mostly intact. I note which windows still have glass, which displays are visible from the outside, any potential obstacles. 7 minutes have passed. Time to go. I make it back to the boat without incident. Octavia is crouched in the shadows, her hand on the machete. She relaxes fractionally when she sees me. "Well?" 3 infected visible. Front entrance is compromised, but back loading dock looks accessible. Interior is dark. Can't tell what's inside. 3 we can handle. What about noise? Glass everywhere. We'll need to move slowly. She checks her watch, an old wind-up mechanical one that still works. Okay, I'm going to set up the distraction. Give me 30 minutes to get into position. When you hear the car alarm, count to 60, then move. That gives the infected time to start migrating north. I'll meet you back here in 45 minutes maximum. If I'm not back by then, leave without me. If I'm not back, I'm dead or turned. Either way, you leave. Understand? I understand doesn't mean I like it. She disappears into the pre-dawn shadows, moving like a ghost. I'm left alone with the boat and my thoughts. 30 minutes suddenly seems like an eternity. I use the time to prepare. I check my makeshift weapons, the box cutter and a length of pipe I found in the shed. Pathetic compared to Octavia's machete, but better than nothing. I go through the priority list in my head one more time. Propane first, medical second, food third, everything else if there's time. 20 minutes pass, then 25. At 28 minutes, I hear it, a car alarm splitting the morning quiet. It's distant, maybe a quarter-mile north like we planned. The sound is piercing, insistent, designed to be impossible to ignore. I start counting. 1, 2, 3. Through the trees, I see movement. The 3 infected I spotted earlier all turn toward the sound simultaneously, like puppets on strings. They start moving north, that distinctive, jerky sprint. 30, 40, 50. More infected emerge from buildings, from alleys, from God knows where. They're all heading toward the alarm. The parking lot is clearing. 60. I move. The loading dock is exactly where I marked it. The door is unlocked. No surprise there. I ease it open, wincing at the slight creak of hinges. Inside, darkness. The dawn light penetrates maybe 10 feet before the shadows take over. I pull out my LED work light, the one I grabbed from the workshop on that first night. I've been conserving the battery, using it only when absolutely necessary. This qualifies. The light reveals a storage room, shelves still partially stocked. I'm in luck. This is the back inventory area. I spot propane tanks immediately, the small camping-style ones. I grab 2, stuff them in my pack. They're heavy but manageable. Medical supplies next. I scan the shelves. Find a first aid kit that's been partially ransacked, but still has bandages, antiseptic, pain medication. Into the pack, food, canned goods mostly. I take what I can carry, soup, vegetables, fruit. The pack is getting heavy, but I'm not done. Fishing gear. I find a display of hooks, line, even a folding rod. I grab handfuls of hooks in various sizes, spool of monofilament line, a small tackle box with lures and sinkers. 3 minutes have passed, maybe 4. I should leave. But I spot something else, a battery. Heavy-duty marine battery, exactly what we'd need for an electric motor. It's probably 40 pounds, too heavy to carry with everything else. I make a decision. I unload half the canned food, stuff the battery in my pack instead. We can make more food runs, but a working motor changes everything. 5 minutes. Time to go. I'm heading back toward the loading dock when I hear the sound. Footsteps, fast, inside the building. An infected bursts through the interior door, snarling. It must have been deeper in the store, too far from the windows to hear the car alarm clearly. And now I've alerted it with my movement and light. It's on me in seconds. I drop the pack and swing the pipe, catch it in the shoulder. The impact knocks it sideways, but doesn't stop it. It lunges again and I step back, swing harder. This time, the pipe connects with its skull. Solid, meaty thunk. The infected drops. But the noise has attracted attention. I hear more movement, more footsteps. I grab my pack and run for the loading dock, not caring about stealth anymore. Speed is survival now. I burst out into the dawn light. 2 more infected are coming around the corner of the building, drawn by the sounds of combat. I don't slow down. I run directly toward the tree line, my pack bouncing against my back, lungs burning. Behind me, the infected give chase. They're fast, terrifyingly fast. But I have a head start, and I know where I'm going. I crash through the underbrush, branches whipping at my face. The boat is ahead. I can see the water. Something grabs my pack. I spin, bring the pipe around. The infected loses its grip, and I keep moving. 5 more steps. 3, 1. I'm at the boat. I throw the pack in, grab the edge to push off. An infected comes through the trees right at me. I swing the pipe one-handed, awkward but desperate, catch it in the face. It stumbles, and I shove the boat into the water, jumping in as it floats free. The infected wade into the water after me, but I'm rowing now, pulling with everything I have. They thrash and splash, trying to swim, but they can't coordinate the movements. They sink, resurface, sink again. I'm 20 feet from shore, 30, safe. My heart is hammering so hard, I think it might explode. My hands shake on the oars, but I made it. I got supplies, and I made it out alive. Now I just need to wait for Octavia. I row to a position about 50 yards from shore where I can see the inlet where we landed. The car alarm is still going, a distant wail. Any minute now, Octavia should come running out of those trees. 5 minutes pass. 10. 15. The car alarm stops. The sudden silence is worse than the noise. 20 minutes. Come on, Octavia, come on. 25 minutes. I'm gripping the oars so hard my knuckles are white. She said 45 minutes maximum, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't be worried. Anything could have happened. She could be fighting for her life right now. She could already be dead. 30 minutes. Movement at the tree line. I tense, ready to row away if it's infected, but it's her. Octavia bursts out of the forest, running flat out. Behind her, at least a dozen infected in pursuit. I row hard for the shore, angling to intercept her path. She sees me, adjusts her trajectory. She's fast, but the infected are faster. They're going to catch her before she reaches the water. She doesn't slow down. She hits the water at full sprint, diving forward into a shallow dive. She comes up swimming, powerful strokes pulling her toward the boat. The infected follow her into the water. And like the others, they can't swim properly. But there are so many of them, all thrashing and splashing, that some are getting closer by sheer accident. "Come on!" I shout, rowing closer. "Come on!" She reaches the boat, and I haul her in. She lands in the bottom, gasping. I'm already rowing away, putting distance between us and the infected who are still floundering in the shallows. "You okay?" I ask between strokes. "Fine," she gasps. Set the alarm. Took longer than expected. Found a whole group of them in a house. Had to fight my way out. She sits up, water streaming from her clothes, and helps me row. Together, We pull across the lake toward the platform. The infected give up the pursuit, those that haven't already drowned, and we're left with just the sound of oars and water and our ragged breathing. "Did you get the supplies?" she asks. I nod toward the pack. Propane, medical, some food, fishing gear, and a battery. A battery? For an electric motor, if we can find one. She starts laughing, not hysterical laughter, genuine amusement. "You're insane. We're being chased by a horde of infected, and you're thinking about improving the boat? We need to think ahead." "Yeah," she agrees, still grinning. "We do." The platform comes into view, floating peacefully in the morning light. We row up to it and secure the boat. It takes both of us to haul the pack onto the deck. It's easily 60 pounds with the battery. We collapse on the deck, exhausted and soaked. The sun is fully up now, warming us. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. We just lie there, catching our breath, processing the fact that we survived. "That was too close," Octavia finally says. "Yeah, we can't take risks like that again." "We'll have to," I point out. "Eventually, when we run out of supplies. And then we need to get smarter. Better weapons, better plans. Maybe find a way to clear out sections of the town instead of just raiding and running." I turn my head to look at her. "You want to clear Clearwater Falls? The whole town?" "Not the whole town, but maybe a building or two. Create safe zones. Make it easier to access resources. It's ambitious, crazy even, but also kind of brilliant." "We'd need time," I say, "and a lot more supplies. Better weapons than a machete and a pipe." "The sporting goods store probably has weapons, guns, ammunition, which would attract every infected in the area when we fired them. Not if we use them strategically. Clear a building, secure it, create a forward operating base, then expand from there." I sit up looking at her. She's serious. She's actually serious about this. "You want to take back the town?" "I want to survive," she corrects. "And floating on this platform eating raw fish isn't sustainable long term. Winter is coming. We need real shelter, real resources, a real plan for the future." She's right. I know she's right. The platform has been survival, but it's not living. It's just postponing death. "Okay," I say, "let's start with the battery. Get the boat motorized. That gives us better mobility, faster escapes. Then we figure out weapons. Then we start thinking about securing a building." "One step at a time," she agrees. We spend the rest of the day going through the supplies. The propane tanks will keep the welder running for a few weeks if we're conservative. The medical supplies are basic but better than nothing. We treat the cuts on my arm properly for the first time in weeks, and Octavia cleans and bandages a gash on her leg that she got fighting through the infected. The food is rationed carefully. We decide on 1 can per day, shared between us, supplemented with fish. It's not much, but it's better than I've been eating. The fishing gear is a revelation. Real hooks, real line, actual lures. That evening, I set up 3 lines properly weighted and baited. Within an hour, I've caught 2 bass and a large perch. We feast on raw fish, but it's easier to stomach with a full belly from the canned soup we had earlier. As the sun sets, we sit on the edge of the platform, legs dangling over the water. It feels strange to have someone else here, to hear another voice, to share this space. But it's a good strange, a human strange. "Thank you," I say quietly. "For what?" "For the can of beans, for trusting me, for not leaving when you saw I was barely surviving out here." She's quiet for a moment. "I was alone for 6 weeks after my brother died," she finally says. "I thought about giving up every single day, just walking into a horde of them and ending it. The only thing that stopped me was stubbornness, refusing to let this thing beat me. But it was eating me alive from the inside, that loneliness. I know the feeling. So when I saw your platform, saw you'd survived this long, I thought, maybe I don't have to be alone. Maybe we don't have to be alone. Humans are pack animals, Dalton. We're not meant to survive in isolation." "No," I agree. We're not. The stars come out, brilliant and clear. Somewhere across the lake, an infected howls. But for the first time in 48 days, I don't feel the crushing weight of solitude. I'm not alone anymore. We have a plan, we have supplies, we have each other. It's not much, but it's a start. The next week passes in a blur of activity. Octavia and I fall into a routine quickly, dividing responsibilities based on our skills. She's better at strategy and combat, so she handles security and planning. I'm better with tools and mechanical systems, so I focus on improving our equipment and shelter. The first priority is the boat motor. We make another raid on the marina store, more carefully this time, with better planning and an escape route mapped to the second. We find an electric trolling motor in surprisingly good condition, along with a charger that runs on solar panels. It takes me 2 days to get everything connected and working, but when I finally fire up the motor and the boat glides smoothly across the water without the need for rowing, the sense of accomplishment is overwhelming. This changes everything, Octavia says, grinning as we do a test run around the platform. We can move faster, carry more, get away from threats easier. We still need to be quiet, I caution. The motor's not silent. But yeah, it's a huge improvement. We use the improved mobility to scout more of the lake. Most of the shoreline is thick with infected. The towns and campgrounds that dotted Lake Merrimack before the outbreak are now hunting grounds for the turned. But we find a few isolated spots that might be useful. A small island about 2 miles north is completely clear of infected and has the remains of an old fishing camp. A section of the western shore near a cliff face has only a few infected and might be approachable. The island interests Octavia. We could use that as a staging area, she suggests. Store supplies there, maybe even build a more permanent shelter. Having a backup location in case something happens to the platform. It makes sense. We spend 3 days ferrying materials to the island, salvaged wood from collapsed docks, tools from the platform, some of our food stores. We don't build anything elaborate, just a weatherproof cache buried in a watertight container. But knowing we have a backup gives us both peace of mind. The fishing improves dramatically with proper gear. I set up multiple lines at different depths and start catching more variety. Pickerel, sunfish, even a small lake trout. We're eating better, and I can feel my strength returning. The cuts on my arm healed properly for the first time. My hands stopped shaking from malnutrition. Octavia teaches me to fight. Not that I was completely incompetent before, but there's a difference between swinging a pipe in panic and actually knowing what you're doing. We drill every evening. Footwork, stance, how to target weak points, how to conserve energy in a sustained fight. She's brutal in her instruction, pulling no punches when I make mistakes. The infected don't care if you're tired, she says, after knocking me on my ass for the 3rd time in one session. They don't get tired, they don't stop, so you need to be efficient. Every strike has to count. I get better, slowly, painfully, but better. By the end of the week, I can hold my own in the sparring sessions. I'll never be as good as Octavia. She's been fighting for survival since day one, but I'm competent enough to be useful in a fight. The platform becomes more livable. I use materials from the island runs to reinforce the shed, adding insulation and waterproofing. It's still cramped, but it's warmer and drier. I build a second sleeping area on the deck using canvas and salvage poles, basically a tent without sides. It gives us each our own space, which helps maintain sanity. We talk a lot during this week, long conversations about everything and nothing. Octavia tells me about her life before. She was a park ranger in the White Mountains, which explains her outdoor skills and comfort with isolation. Her brother had been visiting when the outbreak started, trapped with her at the cabin. She doesn't talk much about having to kill him, but I can see the pain in her eyes when she does. I tell her about my marriage falling apart, about missing Kennedy's last 2 birthdays, about the guilt of being an absent father even before the world ended. I tell her about my Navy days, about the friendships I let dissolve, about all the ways I'd isolated myself even when society was functioning. Maybe that's why we're still alive, she says one night. We were already comfortable being alone. We didn't need the constant social interaction to function. That's a depressing thought, but probably true. On day 56, we make our first attempt at clearing a building. We choose, carefully, a small tackle shop on the southern edge of Clearwater Falls, far from the main infected concentrations. It's a single-story structure with only 2 entrances and high windows that can be barricaded. We approach at dawn, as always. The boat makes the journey quick and quiet. We tie up at a collapsed dock about 50 yards from the shop and move in on foot. There are 4 infected inside. We take them systematically. Octavia goes in first, machete ready, while I cover the second entrance with my pipe. The first 2 go down quickly, efficiently. The third gives us trouble, getting past Octavia and coming at me. I remember my training, step inside its lunge and bring the pipe down on its skull. It drops. The 4th we trap in a back room, and Octavia dispatches it with a clean strike. The fight takes maybe 3 minutes. We stand there afterward, breathing hard, covered in blood spray, and I realize something. I'm not terrified anymore. I'm focused, functional. I've adapted. You did good, Octavia says. You too. We spend the next hour securing the building. We board up the windows from the inside using shelving and duct tape. We barricade the doors with heavy displays. We check every corner, every closet, every potential hiding spot. When we're done, the tackle shop is a fortress, and it's full of supplies, fishing gear obviously, but also camping equipment, freeze-dried food, water purification tablets, cold weather clothing. It's a treasure trove. We can't take it all in one trip, but we load the boat with priorities: the freeze-dried food, the water tablets, the warmest clothes. We'll come back for the rest. As we motor back to the platform, Octavia says, "That was almost too easy." "Don't jinx it. I'm serious. 4 infected, minimal resistance. We could do this again, clear more buildings." "One at a time," I caution. "We got lucky today. Next time might be different." But she's right. We've proven we can do this. We can take back pieces of the world, one building at a time. That night, we celebrate with freeze-dried chicken teriyaki reconstituted with purified lake water. It's the best meal I've had in nearly 2 months. We eat slowly, savoring every bite, and plan our next moves. The sporting goods store, Octavia says. That's the big prize. Guns, ammunition, body armor maybe. With proper weapons, we could clear larger areas. It's also going to have the most infected, I point out. Everyone who was looting when the outbreak hit would have headed there. It'll be packed. So we need a bigger distraction, something that draws them all away at once. Like what? She thinks for a moment. Fire. A big fire, far enough away that we're safe, but close enough to pull the infected from the entire downtown area. Where would we set it? The old mill on the north side. It's abandoned, been closed for years. Burn that, and you'd have a blaze visible for miles. It's risky. Fire attracts everything, including potentially survivors who might try to investigate or help. But it might be our best shot at accessing the sporting goods store. We'd need accelerant, I say, and a way to set it remotely so we're not trapped. Can you rig something, I consider? With the tools I have, the materials we've salvaged? Yeah. Give me a few days. I can build a timer-based ignition system using a car battery and some electrical wire. And let's do it. We spend the next 4 days preparing. I build the ignition system, testing it repeatedly on the platform to make sure it works. We scout the mill, mapping out access points and escape routes. We stockpile supplies on the island in case we need to evacuate the platform quickly. On day 60, we make our move. The plan is complex but necessary. We approach the mill just before dawn, motor up to a collapsed loading dock, and haul our equipment inside. The building is huge, 3 stories of rotted wood and rusted machinery. It's also completely empty of infected, which is both reassuring and suspicious. They don't like it here, Octavia observes. Must be something about the smell or the darkness. We set up the fire in the center of the ground floor. Piles of old wood soaked in gasoline we siphoned from abandoned cars. The ignition system is wired to trigger in 30 minutes, enough time for us to get to the sporting goods store and inside before the fire starts. We paddle out, motors are too loud for this phase, and beach the boat near the sporting goods store. It's located in a small strip mall, surrounded by infected. We count at least 20 in the immediate area, maybe more inside the buildings. 28 minutes since we armed the timer. We wait in the shadows, weapons ready. Octavia has her machete. I've upgraded to a crowbar and a shorter, more maneuverable pipe. We're both wearing leather jackets we took from the tackle shop, improvised armor against bites. 29 minutes. Here we go, Octavia whispers. 30 minutes. At first, nothing happens. Then, I see smoke rising from the north side of town, thin at first, then thicker. Within minutes, flames are visible above the tree line. The fire spreads fast, faster than I expected. The whole mill must be going up. The infected react immediately. They turn as one toward the fire and start moving north. Fast, urgent, like the fire triggers some deep instinct. Within 5 minutes, the area around the sporting goods store is nearly clear. Now, Octavia says, we move quickly to the store. The front windows are smashed, the door hanging off its hinges. We enter weapons ready, but the interior is empty. The infected must have all moved toward the fire. We work fast. The sporting goods store is a mess, looted heavily. But there are still supplies. We find a shotgun with shells, a hunting rifle, a crossbow with bolts. We grab a tactical vest, a hunting knife, a hatchet, camping gear, rope, a portable stove. 10 minutes in, we filled 2 large backpacks. We need to go, I say, glancing toward the fire. It's massive now, a column of smoke visible for miles. And we can hear sounds, not infected, but something else. Crashes, explosions maybe. The fire is spreading to other buildings. We exit the store and freeze. 5 infected are coming down the street toward us. Not from the fire, from the opposite direction. These ones didn't respond to the distraction, or they've already investigated and are coming back. Run, Octavia says. We run for the boat, weighted down with packs. The infected see us and give chase. We're fast, but they're faster. I can hear their footsteps behind us, their snarling breaths. Octavia reaches the boat first, throws her pack in. I'm 10 feet behind, 5 feet, 3. Something grabs my ankle. I go down hard, the pack slamming into my back. I roll, see an infected lunging for my throat. I get the crowbar up just in time, catch it under the jaw. It snaps back but doesn't stop. I slam the crowbar into its temple and it finally goes limp. But the others are here now, 4 of them. Octavia's in the boat starting the motor, but she can't leave without me, and I'm tangled in the pack straps. I get my feet under me, swing the crowbar wildly, catch one infected in the knee, drop it. Another comes at me and I sidestep, use its momentum to shove it past me toward the water. It stumbles but regains balance. "Dalton!" Octavia screams. I rip free of the pack straps and run. The boat is already moving, motor purring. I dive for it, catch the edge, haul myself in, even as infected hands grab at my legs. Octavia swings the machete, severing fingers. I kick free and scramble fully into the boat. We're away. The infected wade into the water after us, but can't follow. We motor out into the lake, breathing hard, hearts pounding. Behind us, the fire is out of control. Half of northern Clearwater Falls is burning. The sky is black with smoke. Did we do that? I ask. I think we did that. We stare at the inferno in silence. It's beautiful and terrible, a funeral pyre for a dead town. We got the weapons, though, Octavia says, pulling the shotgun from her pack. That's what matters. I nod, still staring at the fire. We're better armed now, better equipped. But we've also announced our presence to anything and anyone within 10 miles. The fire will bring attention. Survivors, maybe. Or worse things. We should move the platform, I say. Put more distance between us and the town. Agreed. We motor back to the platform and spend the rest of the day moving it. Using the boat motor and some creative rope work, we tow the platform to the northeastern section of the lake, far from Clearwater Falls. We anchor it using multiple lines to submerged rocks, creating a more stable position. From this new location, we can still see the smoke from the fire. It burns for 3 days straight before finally dying out. When the smoke clears, nearly a quarter of Clearwater Falls is gone, reduced to ash and charred foundations. No going back there for supplies, Octavia says, staring through the binoculars at the ruins. There are other towns around the lake, I point out. We're not dependent on Clearwater Falls. True, but we'll need to be more careful. That fire was a message to every infected in the area that something's happening here. They'll be more active, more alert. She's right. Over the next few days, we notice increased infected activity along all the shorelines. They're moving in larger groups, patrolling more aggressively. Whatever equilibrium had existed before, we've disrupted it. But we have weapons now. Real weapons. Octavia spends a day teaching me to use the shotgun, how to load it, aim it, control the recoil. The sound when we fire test shots is enormous, echoing across the lake. Every infected within a mile turns toward the sound. We can't use these except in emergencies, she says. The noise will bring everything down on us. What about the crossbow? That's better. Quiet, reusable ammo if we can recover the bolts, but it's slow to reload. We practice with the crossbow. It takes me days to get accurate with it, but eventually I can hit a floating target from 20 yards consistently. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. Day 70 arrives with a cold front. The temperature drops 20 degrees overnight, and we wake to frost on the platform deck. Winter is announcing its approach. We need better shelter, I say, my breath misting in the cold air. The shed isn't going to cut it when it gets really cold. What about the island? Octavia suggests. We could build something more substantial there, a proper cabin. That would take weeks. And we'd be vulnerable the whole time working in the open. You got a better idea? I don't. We spend the morning discussing options. Every solution has problems. The platform is safe, but exposed to the elements. The island is more sheltered but harder to defend. The cleared buildings in Clearwater Falls are compromised by the fire and increased infected activity. We're debating the merits of different approaches when we hear it. An engine. Not the quiet electric motor of our boat. A real combustion engine, loud and throaty. We both freeze, listening. The sound is coming from the southern part of the lake, growing louder. A boat, definitely, moving fast. Get the weapons, Octavia says quietly. I grab the shotgun and the crossbow, while she retrieves her machete and the rifle. We position ourselves at opposite corners of the platform, trying to spot the approaching vessel. It comes into view around a wooded point, a speedboat, white with blue trim, moving at maybe 30 miles per hour. As it gets closer, I can make out details. 2 people aboard, maybe 3. They're headed directly toward our platform. They've seen us, I say, or they knew we were here. The speedboat slows as it approaches, cutting the engine about 50 yards out. Close enough to talk, far enough that we can't easily shoot them if we wanted to. Smart. One of the figures stands up in the boat, a man middle-aged wearing a life jacket and holding what looks like a radio. He cups his hands around his mouth and shouts across the water, "Hello! We're not infected. We're survivors from the northern settlements." Northern settlements? That implies organization, multiple groups, some kind of structure. Octavia and I exchange glances. "What do you want?" Octavia calls back. "To talk. We saw the fire in Clearwater Falls 3 days ago. We've been searching for whoever set it." So the fire did attract attention. Wonderful. "We're not looking for trouble," I shout. "We're just trying to survive." The man nods. "We understand. But that fire caused problems. It sent infected migrating north into our territory. We've had 2 attacks in the last 3 days. Lost people. Guilt twists in my gut. We didn't think about the consequences beyond our immediate needs. But what were we supposed to do? Starve? We're sorry for your losses, Octavia says, and she sounds like she means it. We didn't know anyone else was out there. Well, we are, the man says, about 40 of us, spread across 3 settlements. We've been surviving, trading, trying to rebuild. And now, we need to know if you're a threat or potential allies. 40 survivors. 3 settlements. A community. What are you proposing? I ask. Come with us. See what we've built. If you like it, join us. If not, we'll help you find somewhere else to settle. But we can't have people running around setting fires without coordination. It's reasonable. Also, potentially a trap. They could be planning to rob us, kill us, worse. But they also might be telling the truth. 40 people have a better chance of long-term survival than 2. Octavia and I lock eyes. She gives me a subtle nod. It's my call. Give us a minute to talk it over, I shout to the boat. Take your time, the man replies, sitting back down. We move to the center of the platform, speaking in low voices. What do you think? I ask. I think we don't have a lot of good options, Octavia says. Winter's coming. We can barely survive as it is. A community would mean better resources, shared labor, actual shelter. Or it could mean raiders who want our supplies and our platform. True, but if they wanted to rob us, why talk? They've got a speedboat and at least 3 people. They could just circle us and pick us off with guns. Unless they want us to come willingly, make it easier. Dalton, we're thinking in circles. Here's what I know. I'm tired of barely surviving. I'm tired of being cold and hungry and scared. If these people are legitimate, it could be our chance at something better. And if they're not, we're armed and we know how to fight. I look at our platform, at the shed and at the makeshift shelter and the fishing lines. It's kept us alive for over 2 months, but Octavia's right. It's not a life. It's just an extended death. Okay, I say, let's do it. But we keep our weapons, and we keep the boat. They get hostile, we leave. Agreed. We return to the edge of the platform. We'll come with you, I call to the speedboat, but we keep our weapons and our boat. Non-negotiable. The man confers with his companions, then nods. Fair enough. Follow us. It's about 5 miles north. They start their engine and begin moving at a slower speed. Octavia and I quickly load our most important supplies into our boat. Weapons, food, the medical kit, some tools. Everything else stays on the platform. If this goes bad, we'll need to be able to escape quickly. The journey north takes about 20 minutes. The speedboat leads us along the eastern shore, past ruins and infested beaches, until we reach a section of the lake I haven't explored. The shore here is rockier, with steep cliffs rising directly from the water. Natural defenses. We round a point and see it, the settlement. It's built on a series of connected docks and floating platforms, similar to my setup but much more elaborate. There are actual buildings constructed on the platforms, walkways connecting them, even what looks like gardens growing in containers. 30 or 40 people are visible, working, talking, living. It's civilization. Small scale, fragile, but real. The speedboat leads us to a docking area where several other boats are tied up. We secure our boat and step onto a main walkway. The wood is solid under my feet, well maintained. Someone built this with care and skill. The man from the speedboat approaches, extending his hand. I'm Von Castellanos. I'm one of the settlement leaders. Welcome to Haven. I shake his hand cautiously. Dalton Kreiger. This is Octavia. Octavia nods but doesn't shake. She's scanning the area, marking exits and threats, old habits. I'm sure you have questions, Vaughn says. Let me show you around and I'll try to answer them. He's true to his word. Over the next hour, he walks us through Haven, explaining how it works. The settlement was started in the first week of the outbreak by a group of boaters who'd been on the lake when everything went wrong. They'd banded together, built these floating structures, and established a sustainable community. They fish, they purify water, They scavenge the shoreline for supplies during coordinated raids. They have a council that makes decisions, rules that everyone follows, and a system for integrating new survivors. We're up to 42 people now, Vaughn explains. Ages range from 8 to 67. We've lost people to sickness, to infected, to accidents. But we've also grown. Found survivors, rescued them, brought them in. What do you need from us? I ask bluntly. Skills, mainly. We need people who can contribute. What can you do? I'm a marine technician. I can fix engines, build equipment, work with tools. And we desperately need that, Vaughn says, his eyes lighting up. 2 of our boats have been out of commission for weeks because we don't have anyone with engine experience. And you? He asks Octavia. I'm a ranger. I know wilderness survival, combat, security. I can help protect the settlement. Also desperately needed. We've had infected swim close enough to be a threat. We need better defenses. It sounds too good to be true, which means it probably is. There's always a catch. What's the downside? Octavia asks, voicing my thoughts. What aren't you telling us? Vaughn's expression becomes more serious. The downside is that this is fragile. We're always one disaster away from collapse. Disease, infected breach, internal conflict, resource depletion. We've survived this long by being careful and working together. But it's hard. Every day is hard. And you lost people because of our fire, I say quietly. He nods. 2 people. They were on a supply run when the infected horde migration hit them. We don't blame you. You didn't know we existed. But yes, there are consequences to actions out here. We need to coordinate, communicate, work together if we're all going to survive. It's fair. It's reasonable. It's exactly what I'd say if I were in his position. Can we think about it? I ask. See the settlement, talk to people, make sure this is right for us? Of course. You're not prisoners. Stay as long as you want. If you decide to leave, you leave. But I think you'll find that what we've built here is worth preserving. He leaves us to explore on our own. Octavia and I walk through Haven, talking to people, observing the dynamics. Everyone seems genuine, tired, worn down by the constant struggle, but genuinely trying to build something. We see children playing on one of the platforms, supervised by adults. We see people fishing, people repairing equipment, people cooking over a propane stove. We see community. That night, we're offered a space in one of the bunkhouses, a floating structure with actual beds and blankets. It's warm, it's dry. It's more comfortable than anything I've experienced since the outbreak. Octavia and I talk late into the night, weighing the options. I want to stay, she admits. I know it's risky. I know it could go bad, but I'm so tired of being alone, Dalton. Even with you, it's just 2 of us against the world. This is a chance at something more. I feel the same way, I admit. But I'm scared. What if we're making a mistake? What if this place falls apart? Then we survive that too, she says firmly. We've survived everything else. But I think we owe it to ourselves to try. To see if we can have something more than just day-to-day survival. She's right. We've been surviving, but we haven't been living. This is a chance to change that. Okay, I say, let's do it. Let's stay. The next morning, we tell Vaughn our decision. He welcomes us formally into Haven, assigns us duties based on our skills. I'm put in charge of maintaining the boats and mechanical systems. Octavia joins the security team, helping develop defenses and training others in combat. We fall into the rhythm of community life. It's strange at first, being around so many people after months of isolation, but it becomes normal surprisingly quickly. I fix engines, build equipment, solve mechanical problems. Octavia patrols the perimeter, coordinates supply runs, teaches hand-to-hand combat. The platform where I survived for 70 days becomes part of Haven. We tow it to the settlement and integrate it into the dock system. The shed becomes a workshop. The open deck becomes a fishing platform. Nothing is wasted. Days turn into weeks. I learn names, make friends, become part of something larger than myself. There's an older woman named Isla who runs the community garden and tells terrible jokes. A teenager named Zephyr, who's brilliant with computers and has been trying to get radio communication working. A former doctor named Raj, who handles medical care with limited supplies and unlimited determination. I think about Kennedy less painfully now. The wondering, the worry, it's still there, but it's not consuming. I've accepted that I may never know what happened to her. All I can do is survive, honor her memory by living, and hope that somewhere she's doing the same. 3 months after joining Haven, winter sets in hard. The lake partially freezes, though not enough to walk on. The cold is brutal, but we have insulated shelters and propane heaters scavenged from abandoned homes. We huddle together, share body heat, survive. Infected activity drops dramatically in the cold. They're still out there, frozen in place along the shorelines, but they don't move much. We use the quiet period to strengthen Haven's defenses, stockpile supplies, plan for spring. Octavia and I grow closer during the long winter nights. Not romantically, we're both too damaged for that, but as true friends, battle companions, family. One night, sitting by a heater in the bunkhouse, she says, "I'm glad I found you on that platform. I'm glad you took a chance on a stranger bleeding into lake water to catch fish." She laughs. "You were pathetic. I was surviving. You were both." Spring comes slowly. The ice melts. The infected become active again, and Haven prepares for another season of scavenging and survival. But we're stronger now, more organized, better equipped. We've learned to live in this new world. Day 153. That's how long it's been since I fled to that floating work platform. 5 months. Feels like 5 years. I'm doing maintenance on one of the boats when Zephyr runs up, out of breath. "Dalton, the radio. We got a signal." I drop my wrench and follow her to the communications platform. A dozen people are already gathered around the radio setup, a cobbled-together system Zephyr has been working on for months. The voice coming through the static is broken, but clear enough. "National Guard, establish safe zone. Colorado Springs. Repeat, safe zone in Colorado Springs. If you can hear this, Colorado. Where Kennedy is. Where my daughter might still be alive." The message repeats several times, then cuts out. Zephyr tries to respond, but we're not set up for two-way communication yet. Just receiving. But it's proof. Proof that there are larger survivor groups. Proof that someone is trying to rebuild. Proof that Colorado Springs, where my daughter is, has a safe zone. I find Octavia on the security platform. "Did you hear?" "I heard," she says. "You're thinking about going." "I have to. If there's a chance Kennedy's there, if there's a chance she's alive." "I know, I understand." "Come with me," I say impulsively. "We make a good team. We've survived this long together." She's quiet for a long moment, staring out at the lake. "I can't," she finally says. "This is my home now. These people depend on me. And honestly, I think I've found what I was looking for: purpose, community, a reason to keep fighting." I understand. I feel the same about Haven. But I also have a daughter who might need me. "It's at least 1,500 miles to Colorado," she points out. "Through infected territory, collapsed infrastructure, who knows what else. You might not make it." "I might not," I agree, "but I have to try." We stand there together, two survivors who found each other in the apocalypse, knowing this might be goodbye. "When will you leave?" she asks. "Not until spring is fully here. Another month at least. I need to prepare, gather supplies, plan the route." "We'll help," she says firmly. "Haven will help. You've earned it." The next month is a flurry of preparation. Vaughn and the council approved the journey, seeing value in establishing contact with other survivor groups. They helped me outfit a vehicle, a SUV we salvaged and got running, armored with improvised plating, loaded with supplies and weapons. Octavia trains me intensively, teaching me everything she knows about survival, combat, evasion. Raj gives me medical supplies and a crash course in field medicine. Ixla packs me enough preserved food for weeks. Zephyr gives me a handheld radio. It might not work, she admits, but if you get within range of any functioning relays, you could communicate. Let us know you made it. I'll try, I promise. The day before I leave, I stand on the platform where I survived for 70 days. It's changed so much, integrated into Haven. But I can still see traces of those desperate first weeks. The blood-stained cloth I used for fishing bait, now faded and washed by rain. The corner where I slept under the stars. The railing I repaired with wire. This place saved my life. Gave me time to adapt, to survive, to find others. I'll always be grateful for that. That evening, Haven throws me a farewell gathering. It's subdued. We've all lost too much for any celebration to be truly joyful. But it's genuine. People wish me luck, give me advice, hug me goodbye. Zephyr cries, which makes me cry. Isla gives me a compass that belonged to her late husband. Raj makes me promise to find real medical facilities and get properly checked out. Octavia walks me to the SUV the next morning. The sun is just rising, painting the lake in gold and pink. "You've got everything?" she asks, checking the vehicle one more time. Supplies, weapons, maps, the radio. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Remember, avoid large groups of infected. Don't take unnecessary risks. Trust your instincts. I remember. We stand there awkwardly for a moment. Then, Octavia pulls me into a fierce hug. "Find your daughter," she says. "Bring her somewhere safe. Live the life we're all fighting for." "Take care of Haven," I reply. "Keep these people safe. You're good at it." "I'll try." I climb into the SUV. The engine turns over smoothly. I've made sure of that. Through the windshield, I can see the entire settlement gathered on the platforms, watching me leave. I raise a hand in farewell. They wave back. Then, I put the vehicle in drive and start moving away from the lake, away from Haven, toward Colorado and the unknown. The road ahead is long and dangerous. I might die before I get there. I might find that Kennedy didn't make it, that the safe zone is overrun, that I've risked everything for nothing. But I have to try, because that's what survival means in this world. Not just staying alive, but finding reasons to keep living. Purpose, hope, love. I survived the apocalypse alone on a floating dock. I found allies and community. I learned to fight and adapt and endure. Now I'm driving toward my daughter, toward the possibility of reunion, toward whatever future this broken world might hold. The lake disappears behind me in the rearview mirror. Ahead, the road stretches into the distance, empty and waiting. I press the accelerator and drive into the morning light, a survivor heading home.